Welcome to your first review prep of the school year. We are studying for the Unit 1 test. It's coming up quickly. So let's take a look at number 1. But before we begin, make sure that you always put your first name, your last name, the date, and the period. Let's get started. Number 1. Which 2 points represent integers with the same absolute value? Now, integers are all the negatives, 0, and all the positives. They do not include fractions. So let's take a look at what we have done here. We have 0 at a point A. We have a 3 right here, but we're looking for the same absolute value. The absolute value of 3 is 3. Well, if you look down here, the absolute value of negative 3 is also 3. That would be an answer, but it's not a point listed. So we have to find 2 points that are alike as far as the absolute value. So if you see this one, V right here, the absolute value of negative 6 is 6, and U, the absolute value of 6, is 6. And those have the same absolute value. So the answer is V and U. Now for number 2. Gianna owes her brother $70. Now owing is a negative value, so we're going to write down negative 70. She pays him $24, so we'll be paying him $24. Write an integer, that's a positive or negative, possibly 0, to represent how much she still owes her brother. Now pay attention to that word owes. So negative 70 plus 24, you would just list it somewhere and find the difference. That's negative 46. So she owes her brother $46, and we want to list it as an integer, so it's negative 46 for Gianna. Number 3. Which decimal is equivalent to 17/60ths? Well, this bar right here is a division bar, so that is 17 divided by 60. We make our decimal point and we add as many zeros as we might need. And you can see, since it's a multiple choice, our first choice here is 2's. So we definitely want to go with the 2. There wouldn't be any other option. So 2 is right here, and 2 times 60 is 120. You simply set it up just like elementary school and subtract. We get 50. Bring down a 0, and now the choice is up to you. We have an 8, 8, 8, and 8, so it looks like it's going to be an 8. 8 times 60 is 480, and that's going to be 20 left over. We bring down another 0. We look at our last option, it's all 3's again. So we're going to put a 3 up here, and 3 times 60 is 180. Well, when we subtract this, we see that we're getting a repeating 20. If we bring down another one, we're going to be stuck in constantly writing just the 3's. So what's repeating here? Well, just the 3. So a bar would be just over the 3 and not the 2 and the 8. So G is correct. Suppose a submarine is diving, which would be negative, from the surface of the water going down at a rate of 93 feet per minute. What is the depth of the submarine after 6 minutes? So we want to use multiplication here, but we also want to pay attention to the submarine going down. So since it's going down at that rate, it's going to be negative 93 times 6, because it's 6 minutes. To do this, we'll just stack them up and do some multiplication. And that's going to be 18, 54, and 55. So it's going to be a negative 558 feet. Make sure you know it's negative, because a negative times a positive is a negative. Number 5. Suppose a 33-acre plot of land is being divided into quarter-acre lots for a housing development project. What is the greatest number of lots possible in the development? So we're going to do 33 divided by a quarter. We can also set it up as 33 divided by a quarter acre. So we want to use the multiplicative inverse property, which we'll be using the reciprocal. We'll keep the first one, make it into a fraction, change our division into multiplication, and then we'll do the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4 firsts. We'll look to cross reduce, and there's nothing to do there, so we will go ahead and multiply it straight across. Well, 33 times 4 gives us 132. Sorry about the interruption. And 132 divided by 1 is 132 lots. Turn the page to number 6. A foreign exchange student wants to ship her belongings to her destination. The mass of each of 3 packages is shown in the table. What is the total mass of all 3 packages? So simply, we're adding these together. Let me fix that. So let's set up an expression. We're going to do 21 and 1/6, but I know I need to change this into an improper fraction. And so I would go 6 times 21, which is going to give me 126 plus the 1, which is 127 over 6, plus the 12.5 as an improper fraction. That's going to be 24 plus the 1 is 25 seconds. And then the bottom one, which I cannot do in my head, so I'm going to go 19 times 6. 54, and that's 114 plus the 5, so that's 119 sixths. Now, these are not compatible to add together, but it's going to be easy to find the LCD. 2 can go into 6, so this is the only one we need to change. 2 times 3 is 6, so 25 times 3 is 75. All right, well, we have everything set up now, and all we have to do is add the top. The denominator will remain as a 6. So 127 plus 75 plus 119. And we add these together. 7 plus 5 is 12, plus the 9 is 21. 4 and 7 is 11, plus that 1 is 12. And that's going to give us 321. Now, you have to check to find out if it's simplifiable. So, here we go. 6 has some factors. 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now, since the top number is an odd number, the only real choice here is 3. So, does 3 go into 321? It does. So, how many times? Well, you'd have to sort that out. 321 and 3 once. Bring down the 2, there's nothing there, so that's 0, and bring down the 1, and that is a 7. So it's 107 times on top, and on the bottom 3 goes into 6 2 times. So that's our simplified version. But since these numbers are listed in mixed number form, we're going to go ahead and rotate it back to mixed number. So 107 divided by 2 is 5, which is 10. And then 2 goes into 7 3 times, and there'll be 1 remainder. So it's 53 and a half. You can either put this in the form, or you could put its lowest simplified terms improper fraction. Number 7. Which mathematical property is illustrated below? Let's look carefully. Here is the equal sign, and we notice that x is adding to the y first and then adding the z. Whereas on the other side, y is adding to the z first, then adding the x. But more importantly, we need to look at the order. It's x, y, z, and x, y, z. That makes this the associative property of, look at all the addition signs, addition. So be careful on the test that you're actually paying attention to what is happening. Moving to number 8. Are you a golfer? If you are, I bet you understand how this problem works. If you aren't, here's how it works. The table shows Brandon scores for 9 holes of golf. Add the numbers in the middle column. Here's the middle one. To find his total score for 9 holes. Add the integers in the third column. This is the third column. To find his total score relevant to par. Put both in the form using a comma to separate. So here's your example of how to put it into the form. But let's go ahead and work here. I'm going to draw a line right here, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to clump these together. So I'll put 3 together at one time. So these 3 is going to be 11, these 3 are going to be 14, and these 3 together is 10. And then I'll put these together. 11 plus 14 plus 10 is going to be a 5 in the ones place and a 3 in the tens place. Now it's always good to make sure that you're adding correctly. Now let's go to the third column. The third column is a -1, a +1, that would be 0. We have a +1 and a -1, that would be another 0. And all the other zeros are going to be 0. Well, the only last thing that we need to add is -1. So it's -1. And remember, it did say in the directions to use a comma to separate it. Now I bet there's not going to be any spaces, so just put 35, comma, -1. So relative to par, let me explain this in golf. So each hole in golf is assigned a certain amount of strokes, which means a hit from the golf club, that a golfer should target each hole as. So let's say that this first one, Brandon got a score of 3, but his score was -1. So that makes par on hole 1 4. So the golf course allows 4 strokes to get into the hole, but you can see that Brandon did it in 3, so he was 1 under par. On hole number 2, since it's +1, he got 1 over and he shot a 5, so it's another par 4 hole. He took 1 more stroke than allotted. It's a 0 here, so he did it in 3 and he wasn't over or under par, so he made par. So the par on 3 was 3. The par on 4 was 4, so it's 0. The par on 5 was 5. The par on 6 is 5, but he went +1, so it's probably a 4 par. The next one, he got 1 under par with a 4, so the par was probably 5, and this is a 4, and he got 1 under again, which is a 3. So if you wanted to know the par of the course, you would add up these. Now this isn't part of the problem, but we're just going over it so you know. This is 11. Right here is 9, and 4 is 13. And 5, 4, and 3 total is 12. If you add these together, you can see that it's going to be 36. So par for the course is 36. And you can see that Brandon was 1 under. That's what this -1 in our answer means, and he scored 35 points. Pretty good golfer. Moving on to the next page. Number 9. Which of the following rational numbers is equivalent to a terminating decimal? So let's take a look at each of these. We want to find something that is terminating. Terminating means it stops. A non-terminating number could mean something like this. So let's go ahead and look at each of these. So 28 over 40. It's a big fraction. I'm going to go ahead and just make it easier on myself and know that there's some numbers that go into both. On the top, I have, it can be reduced down to 14 20ths, and that can be reduced down to 7 tenths. Well, 7 tenths I know is 7 tenths, and that does terminate. So I think we may have found the answer, but let's see why the other ones don't work. 17 over 22. 17 divided by 22, and 22 goes in 17 no times, it goes into 170, probably 7 times, I would guess. Let's see what happens here. 4 goes into there 8 times, and 4 goes into there 8 times. Not nearly enough. So we're going to go back to the drawing board on that one. And I'm going to pause the video and do the work here for you, and then come back and tell you about it. I have to say, wow, these are a task. Without a calculator, these hurt. They should not be that way on the test. I will make sure to check that they are not such a big disaster. But you can see that each of these have repeating bars, and that means that they do not terminate. They keep on going. Sorry about that once again. Number 10. The thickness of a CD is about 1/20th inch. If Carrie has a stack of 82 CDs, what is the height of the stack? All right, so it looks like we're multiplying here. 1/20th times 82 CDs. So we'll make 1/20th times 82 as a fraction, and we'll look to cross reduce. And we can see that both of these right here are reducible. So it looks like they're both even numbers, so I'm going to just simply say that 2 can go into 20 10 times, and 2 can go into 82 41 times. And that's going to be 41 tenths. Now, since it's the height, what's the height? It is 41 tenths of an inch. Now, we can go ahead and change this, or you can enter this as improper into the Google form. To change this, it's simply, you already know how to do it. You just set it up, and 10 goes into 41 4 times, and that's 1. So it is 4 and 1/10. All right, on to number 11. Oops, number 11. Angela painted 3/8 of a room. Todd painted 3/5 of the same room. What part of the room has not been painted? All right, so we're going to add these together to find out how much of the room has been painted. Now, to add fractions together, you have to have like denominators. So we're going to go ahead and say that both of these have a denominator that's alike, that it's 40. So again, 8 times 5 is 40, and 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 8 is 40, and 3 times 8 is 24. We're going to add these together to get 39/40 of the room has been painted. They're almost done. Number 12. Overnight, the low temperature dropped to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. If the high temperature during the day was 29 degrees Fahrenheit, what was the difference between the high and the low temperatures? They want to find the difference, so we need to subtract. So we can see that it's overnight was negative 15. If the high temperature during the day was 29 degrees, we're going to go negative 15 minus 29. So we want to find the difference of the two. It's good to use additive inverse to help ourselves out. And these are negatives plus negatives, so we're going to get many, many more negatives. So our negative here is going to be 44 negatives. So there's a difference of 44. Now, if we want to know what that difference is, we need to find the absolute value of it. And the absolute value of negative 44 is 44 degrees. That's the difference between the highs and the lows. It's a 44 difference. Number 13. The French Club is hosting a breakfast each Monday morning in the cafeteria. The breakfast menu is shown in the table. French Club Festival. We have crepes, croissants, Danish, and juice. Here's the prices for each of those. Sorry about that. Going back to the problem. It says write an algebraic expression that can be used to find the customer's total cost given C crepes, S croissants, D Danish, and J juice. Now we don't know how much of each, but we do know how much they cost. So they want an algebraic expression here. So we're going to simply put these together. The crepes are $1.50, so we're going to do 1.5, and the crepes are C. We don't know how many crepes, but each one's $1.50. Plus the croissants. The croissants are 2.5 S, so we don't know how many S stands for how many croissants. Plus the Danish, which is 4.5 D. And the juice, which is 75 cents J. Now you did learn in class it's important to put your expressions in alphabetical order or variable order, and the first one that comes in the alphabet is your 1.5C, plus the D, plus the J, plus the S. Now the form won't really matter. I'm sure that it might accept the first line, but this is the appropriate way to do it. 13B. Find the total cost if the volleyball coach buys 9 crepes, 5 danishes, and 8 juice drinks. Now this is going to be easy since we just made that up there. This is substitution property of equality. So we'll take our first one, 1.5, and put parentheses. We'll do 4.5 parentheses plus 75 cents parentheses plus 2.5 parentheses. All right, what did the coach buy? 9 crepes. So the crepes are, make sure we get them right, crepes are the C's, yes. So that goes right here. 5 danishes, that's the D. So we put a 5 in the Danish spot, which is right here next to the 4.5. And then 8 juices, that's right here, 8. How many of the croissants did the coach buy? Doesn't mention, so that means 0. So we put a 0 here. Now we go ahead and just go through this and multiply them. So 9 times $1.50 would be $9. No, it's not. Let me try that again. So it's $13.50 for the crepes. 4.5 times 5. It's $22.50 for the danishes, and for the juice, and that is $6. You add up all these together, $42. On to number 14. A player's baseball average is found by dividing the number of hits by the total number of times at bat. A player has a batting average of 28 hundredths, or 280 thousandths. What fraction is equivalent to 280 thousandths? So we like to just say it out loud, 280 thousandths, so 280 over 1,000. Now we can see very quickly that they are both divisible by 10. So now we can reduce it down to 28 100ths, and we can see again that they're both even numbers. So 28 divided by 2 is going to be 14, and this is 50ths. They're still even numbers, so that's going to be 7/25. So that is the reduction of the batter's average. Number 15, a helicopter ascended 216 feet. Ascended means to go up in 6 seconds. What value represents the change in height in feet per second? So we're going to use 216 feet in 6 seconds. We'll use division here. And so 216 divided by 2 is, divided by 6. I misspoke. That is 36 feet per second. Number 16. Charlotte wants to sew trim around the sleeves. Hold on. Alright, sorry about that. The custodian came in, so I had to pause the video quick. Back to number 16. Charlotte wants to sew trim around the sleeves and collar of a gymnastics leotard. She needs a piece of trim that is 10 1/3 inches long for the sleeves and a piece that is 21 2/3 inches long for the collar. She buys a 5-foot piece of trim. How much trim will she have left once she finishes the leotard? Alright, so let's go ahead and add together what she's going to use here. So this one and this one. And let's set up a little expression for ourselves. She bought a 5-foot piece, and we're going to take away what she is using. She's got 10 1/3 plus 21 2/3. So we have to do what's in the parentheses first to be able to take it away from the others. Alright, so here we go. 10 1/3 and 21 2/3 needs to be changed into improper fractions to add them. But if you look close, you may be able to do it without it. 1/3 and 2/3 is a whole, and you have 10 plus 21, which is 31, plus that 1 whole is 32. So this is 32. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, what's happening here? Well, remember what's listed in here is inches. And what did she buy? She bought a 5-foot piece. So it's not listed in inches. So what we can do to this one, and probably what we should have done in the beginning, is multiply it by 12 to find out how many inches we have. So 5 times 12 is 60. And 60 minus 32 is 28. So she has 28 inches left over. Oops, going down. 17. At the end of April, a telecom company has a net worth of negative, that's not good, so negative $142,587. By the end of December of the same year, the company's net worth had increased by $287,465. So we need to add these together to find out what their current net worth is. So since these are negatives and these are positives, you have far more positives than negatives, we're going to take away this amount. And that's going to do some borrowing here. I'm not sure if you do subtraction the same way I do. That's how I get it done. So we have a new worth of the company to be $144,878. Time for number 18. Nahum wrote checks and made the deposits shown in his check registry. What was the change in his balance after these transactions? So you can see he has payment amount and deposit amount. Deposits are positive and payment amounts are negative. So let's start with making an expression. Negative 105 plus 511 plus negative 197 plus 45 plus negative 95. Now that's something you can start with, but there's much easier ways. Now here's an addition signs all the way across, and that means you can add out of order. That's a commutative property. So it'd be really nice just to add all of the negatives together and all the positives together and then take care of it at the end. And that's a pretty good idea. So 5 and 7 is 12, plus the 5 is 17. So we'll put a 7 and carry the 1. 1 and 0 and 9 is 10, plus the 9 is 19. And we'll carry the 1, and that is going to be 397. That's negative, so we don't want to lose track of that. Plus, over here we have 511 plus 45. So 1 and 5 is 6. 1 and 4 is 5. And 5 and nothing is 5. So you can see there are more positives than there are negatives. So again, we'll take away 397 of the positives and get $159 in the positive for NAEM. Number 19. Suppose Harlow's school represents the origin on a coordinate plane. If Harlow leaves school and bikes 5 miles west and then 3 miles north to the recreation center, what is the location of the recreation center as an ordered pair? Now, we don't have a chart here, but you are always free to draw pictures to help you out. So let's break this down. We have a coordinate plane, and that's what we're talking about. This is north, this is south, this is west, and this is east. So let's take a look at what Harlow's doing. If Harlow leaves school and bikes 5 miles west, so he goes 5 miles west, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 miles north, 1, 2, 3. What is this location? This location is negative 5, positive 3. Remember, your first value is your x and your second value is your y. Make sure when you do this that you use your parentheses and your comma. Number 20. Jacob is 5 5/6 feet tall and Linda is 5 3/4 feet tall. How much taller is Jacob? Well, let's take a look. We're going to have to find the difference. So 5 5/6 subtract 5 3/4. Now on these, I like to make them improper. So that's going to be 30 35/6 minus, that's 20 23/4. Now they're still not easily handled because the denominators do not match. So you look for a number that both can go into. And I am going to use 12. 6 times 2 is 12, and 35 times 2 is 70. 4 times 3 is 12, and 23 times 3 is 69. And you can see there is a difference of 1/12. Number 21. Oh, going down. What is the quotient in simplest form to the following division problem? It's even underlined. This big bar right here means to divide. So simply this says 7/9 divided by 4/9. And we use the multiplicative inverse property. We keep it as 7/9, change division to multiplication, and reciprocate the last one. You can see we can cross reduce here. 9 goes in 9 once, 9 goes in 9 once, and we have 7/4. 7/4 is acceptable for the Google form, or you can make it into a mixed number, which would be 1 3/4. Number 22. Identify all sets to which the following number belongs. 5. Is 5 a whole number? Yes. Is it an integer? Yes. Is it irrational? Absolutely not. So F is out. Is 5 irrational? No. Is 5 rational? Yes. Let's check this last one though. Is 5 a whole number? Yes. Is it a counting number? Yes. Is it an integer? Yes. Is it rational? So which of these questions has more identities of 5? It's J. And now finally our last one. 23. Which points on the coordinate plane shown are located in quadrant 1? Here's quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And to remember this, quadrant 1 is always here, the very first one you've learned about, and it goes in a capital C formation. So what 2 points? N and J. N and J. And that's it. Remember, you can always go back and look at problems over again, and you can bounce around, so you don't have to watch the whole lesson in its entirety.